Welcome back to the project. Today's November 24th, Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and got plenty to eat. It's been a busy last 3 weeks. We've been down at the Key West boat races and the big Miami to Key West poker run, checking out all the new boats. Had a lot going on at work, working on projects here and lots of jobs. But today I had some time. It's going to be a long weekend. We're off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so I'm going to spend the next 3 days working in the shop, putting together the afterburner parts. Today I've spent a lot of time making little bits and pieces for the afterburner, and that's what I'm going to go over today in today's video. So let's get started. What you see here is some of the basic components of the afterburner system that I'm making. We'll start with the fuel nozzles first. These are simply just a piece of 3/8 inch stainless steel tubing. Started out about 10 inches long. I don't know what the final length will be until after we make the loop, but you just take this and flatten it out. First you have to bend it, put the bend in there. They're all bent on the same angle. Then flatten them out in the vise, and then put a thickness gauge in here. This is right at 0.008 of an inch gap. Put the thickness gauge in there, then flatten that on out in the vise so they're all the same thickness. It's easier to start out big and squeeze it down smaller if I need to reduce it, but we can have a lot of control just by the amount of fuel pressure that we'll be putting into the system. So first thing was to make all these. They're all just a little bit different in length, but they'll get cut off to the correct length once we get the right bend. They'll be bent something like this when they're finished. This is just a test piece here. And then this will get welded onto here. They're cut out. So that fits in there nice. Then they'll get welded to this. And then this will attach to this fitting, which will be in the fuel rail. The fuel rail is made out of a piece of 1/2 inch stainless. This is going to be about 62 inches long. And then it'll have 4 standpipes off the loop. The circle will be somewhere in the neighborhood of 22 inches in diameter. Then these little standpipes will come off of there. This is just a little sample piece of 1/2 inch stainless steel tubing. These were cut out of the same material and then coped so they can be welded on once the fuel manifold has the correct holes drilled into them. I believe they're 3/8 ID, and then that'll get put on there and welded on the fuel manifold. So there'll be 4 of these, which are in relation to the 4 ports that these go into. And then these little pieces here were a piece of 3/8 tubing. I'm just using them as inserts to hold the fitting in place. It goes nice and easy in this side, but this side you can see a little bit of a chamfer in there to kind of funnel the fuel down into a smaller fitting. This gets pressed into here. It's just a static fit. So this one's already got one pressed in it, which makes it easier to butt weld that to that, because this should have 3/8 going into here, but I'm running 1/2 inch all the way up to it. So that'll get welded, butt welded there, and then that piece will get welded onto the fuel rail like we was just saying earlier. Then that'll deliver the fuel to the nozzles going into the afterburner. So that's some of the pieces. Now the next part, this is the heat shield that's in the end of the engine. I had to machine out all these holes here. because this is where the fuel nozzle is going to stick out. Fuel nozzle will go in there like that. These pieces have to float in the end of the jet engine because everything's hot and expands and contracts, so it has to be able to float, and it floats on these. There's 4 of these, one in each one of these. So this has, I had to machine a hole through here. These will get a little bit better. This was the first one for an example. So that'll go in there similar to that. That'll go in there like so. And that's about the depth that they ride at, somewhere in that neighborhood. And that fuel nozzle will stick out of there like that. And the reason I done it like this is I didn't want to carry fuel lines in the gas path from the jet engine as it's coming out and create more restrictions in the jet flow and rob power. So this was the best way I could come up with without putting a lot of stress on anything else by cutting these holes. So the fuel will come through here, spray into the gas path, and then this piece here on the top, that's the flame holder. Let's get this adjusted up so you can see it a little bit better. And the flame holder will get its fuel from here. So that's going to go there. This little tube is split in the bottom. It's going to capture a little bit of fuel from there. This will get welded here only, because as all this stuff, as this stuff heats up and grows, it's going to have to slide just a little bit. That's exaggerated, but it's going to catch just a little bit of fuel from there. It's going to travel up that tube and into the flame holder. And once it's lit, the low pressure area with the fuel in it right here will stay lit and burn the rest of the fuel that's coming out of the other 4 nozzles. So once we get all these pieces back into the rings, then we can adjust them a little bit better and get them all welded in place. So that's the ring that it goes in. This is where these pieces bolt in, and that holds it right there. So on the engine, this is just stuff I'm working with. So what you're looking at on the engine is this piece here. So that fuel nozzle is going to come in here, it'll come out, then it'll turn and go into that ring, which will go all the way around the engine and have 4 nozzles to put the fuel in there. And then that line will come out this direction and go forwards and down, and then the fuel will be fed to it from the front side. Pretty simple system. Oh, and the igniter to light the fuel will go approximately right here, and it will just come off of one of the other igniters, because it has 2 igniters in the engine. And on the military version of it, they basically take that igniter right there and do away with it, and then that igniter wire comes back to the igniter back here that will go into the tailpipe. I don't have enough light to get in there to see that. But that's the basic afterburner system, mainly for fire and smoke. I'm sure to produce a little bit of thrust, but not much. But it's the entertainment section. So we'll get lots of fire and lots of smoke out the tailpipe. So that's this weekend's quest, and you're going to get after it. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Later.